Welcome to DCS Pathways. I'm Kevin Patton, Pathways Counselor for Dublin City Schools. Choosing courses and planning for life after high school can feel overwhelming. The ideas and resources shared here are intended to help students and families with this important process. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. If you're here live, my name is Kevin Patton. I am the Pathways Counselor for Dublin City Schools. I'm very excited for this afternoon's panel. We've got some amazing guests here to just share about opportunities in hospitality and culinary arts and things related to those fields that I think many of us are familiar with because we go enjoy those types of services in our daily lives. But I know that many of our students who would benefit from these types of career options sometimes aren't thinking about it. So really, I'm excited to introduce you to some opportunities and to get you thinking about some possibilities for what you might want to do beyond high school or even in high school. So before I turn things over, I will draw attention to the fact that we have a chat feature. So if you have a question that you would like us to address that we don't cover, just type it in there and we'll do our best to get to that before we say our goodbyes. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Sarah Spalding.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, Sarah Spalding. I have been in the hospitality industry for over 18 years now. I am the career educator and recruiter for Columbus State's hospitality and culinary arts programs. I'm very fortunate to have been a student through our restaurant food service management degree. And after completing my associate's degree, I then took advantage of Columbus State's preferred pathways and was able to transfer to Ohio University to receive my bachelor's in just another 2 years. So I've been back since 2019 once this beautiful facility was completed that our students now get to learn and work in. And I never knew that being so good in hospitality could lead me to recruiting for students to want to excel in these areas as well. So I'm just very happy to be able to share my knowledge and experience as a professional and a prior student. And I'll go ahead and let Lena take it over.
Yes, hi, I'm Lena Nahas, and I am an annual contracted faculty with Columbus State. I've been with Columbus State since 2018. I started as an adjunct, so I was working as an inpatient dietitian, and I was teaching with Columbus State. And last year I got into my full-time position, being a full-time faculty. I teach nutrition and dietetics. We call it the HNTR 1153 course, and which is offered in in person, blended, and web format. And I also place students at for rotations for the practicums. I do the agreements with the schools for food service and hospital food service, and we do clinical rotations, and I do teach some of these practicums as well. Yeah. Now I turn it to Chef Barry.
I'm Chef Barry Young. I'm a professor here at Columbus State. I've been here for 13 years. I've been in the hospitality industry around 45 years. I am a certified executive chef, culinary educator, part of the American Academy of Chefs, which is part of the American Culinary Federation. I am also recently the chairman of the board for the American Culinary Federation, as well as teaching here at Columbus State as coordinator for the culinary arts and the culinary apprenticeship program. I started my career as a little kid. Didn't think I was going to do cooking, but as things progressed, I did that in high school and college. Went to Johnson Wales, Rhode Island. I then, after 15, 20 years, went back, got my bachelor's and master's to then be able to teach here at Columbus State. I've been teaching full-time now for 17 years. I've owned my own business. I've run country clubs, fine dining, a little bit of everything. And so I work with the students just about anything to do with food, any cooking classes, lecture classes. I also teach at our Delaware campus as well as our downtown campus, which we have expanded to in the last year for other classes. So I would be one of your advisors for anything to do with hospitality.
No, that's great. I love that we have such a variety of backgrounds and experiences on this panel. I think Columbus State is definitely the premier program in our area when it comes to hospitality. education and getting you set up with not only the certificates and the degrees that you would need to move forward in that field. More importantly, the amount of experience that is embedded into your programming is what I am always so drawn to and impressed by. So, Sarah, I've prepared some questions for everyone. I'll start with some for you. Before I really get into some of the ones that I prepared, I want to go back to what you just mentioned in your introduction. Is you took advantage of the Preferred Pathways program at Columbus State, and that is something I try to speak with anybody who will listen at our school district, because I want to make sure they understand it's a great way to save a lot of money and to still get a great education and to end up with a degree that is the same as anybody else who graduates from a four-year university. So you mentioned you spent the first couple of years at Columbus State and then took advantage of that Preferred Pathway program. Will you just describe what that is and maybe some of the other schools that have partnerships with Columbus State so students are aware of this program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually a non-traditional student, so I took some time off after high school. So I was in the industry for the years that I was, and then found out that we had these amazing hospitality and culinary arts programs. I did know that once I decided to return to get my education, that I did want to get a bachelor's. So I was able to start at Columbus State, receive my 2-year associate's degrees, and then the college as a whole has 9 preferred pathways that say, we know that your students are phenomenal, your programs are amazing, and we want them to continue on to get that bachelor's. So some of those preferred pathways are the Ohio State, Franklin, Capital, Ohio Wesleyan, Otterbein, OU, Go Bobcats, Columbus College of Arts and Designs, and then 2 others on there. But after your 2 years getting your associate's degree, you can transfer directly into those 4-year universities, spend only 2 more and receive that bachelor's. And you're going to save about 60% of your overall tuition by choosing this path. Now, some of these transfer pathways also have regional learning centers. So we've got OSU Newark and then OU Lancaster, which is what I utilized. So I saved probably about 80% of my overall final tuition by utilizing those pathways. What is important to know, though, is I know some students don't want to go to these big universities. So outside of Central Ohio, we do have relationships with smaller bachelor seeking colleges for students to continue with that same field.
No, that's great. I love that you mentioned that, because yes, a lot of those are big name state universities, and I think that's where the program began, but they've now brought in schools like Ohio Wesleyan, like Otterbein, like Franklin University, right? They are much smaller for the students who are looking for that more quaint campus feel and that smaller classroom experience. But I think it's great that our students are just aware, and that our parents are aware, that this is a great way to continue on after high school to get a phenomenal education while saving a ton of money. And it's one of the biggest investments you'll ever make in your life. And I think it's neat also for them to hear about your experience as someone who didn't go right to college, because I think sometimes people feel like, well, you have to do that, but you don't. You can go explore a field of interest and get some career experience and some develop some skills and some maturity before, again, you make that huge investment. So I think that's neat that you are a great example of someone who took some time and then took advantage of the Preferred Pathway program. So I think I didn't want to skip over that, because I think that's a really cool thing that you are working for the college, and obviously a great product of somebody who took advantage of that program. So I want to start by having you share some of the opportunities that are available at Columbus State that distinguish you from the other hospitality and culinary arts programs that are maybe in our area or competition for you, in neighboring states.
Yeah, I'm going to say that one of the greatest opportunities our student has is the fact that we are accredited through the American Culinary Federation. We are one of the top 3 longest accrediting bodies in the United States, over about 44 years now. So not only are our students getting to meet with professionals on a daily basis by our instructors, our teachers, and our adjuncts, but they're going to be able to meet with chefs not only around the state, but the country as well. In the past year, or it's been a couple years, we actually hosted an event called Indie Chef Week, where we had 24 chefs from all over the country, and some even from Canada, that came and did several dining experiences in Mitchell Hall Degrees restaurant, where they created multiple dishes, and our students were able to work side by side these professionals, be a part of the event, and just really get to learn from these professionals from truly all over the world. Something else in addition to that, we are a very big community-based college. especially within the hospitality program. So every year we do fry out turkeys for cancer. We also participate in making pumpkin rolls for the Ronald McDonald House, and help raise thousands of dollars towards those organizations. Chef Barry is a very big advocate behind these opportunities for our students. So it's really good for them to see not only can they get a great education and hands-on learning, but also how important it is as an organization to give back to the community.
I love that. And I think the experience piece is I keep telling any student that'll listen, like that needs to be your top thing on your priority list when you're looking for a post-secondary experience, whether that's college, whether it's a 2-year, a 4-year school, or whether it's a training program, whatever you're interested in, go somewhere that's going to give you early experience in the things that you want to do, because if it doesn't end up being the right fit, you want to be able to pivot sooner than later. And you don't want to spend years paying a lot of money for something that doesn't ultimately end up being the right fit. So I think it's great that Columbus State really emphasizes that experiential learning component so early on in a student's experience there. So next question, I'm curious, which programs are the most popular, and what are some that you're trying to grow due to workforce demands?
Yeah, I mean, all of the programs that we offer are in dire need of employees. I would say that the top programs that are most sought after would be the culinary, baking and pastries, and then restaurant food service management. What's really unique about Lena's programs is that it is very competitive. We're very excited. We just got a new extended accreditation for 7 years, Lena. Is that correct?
Yes,
So that's
correct.
phenomenal. And we only admit 20 students every autumn semester. So that's really great to know that we have those high set of standards for those programs. As far as the industry that we are looking for more students in as far as enrollment purposes, that's going to be more so our hotel tourism and event management side of it. I don't think that a lot of individuals understand the employment opportunities that are out there within it. I mean, you've got hotels, resorts, cruise lines, convention and visitor bureaus, and truly anything entertainment and attraction. You can go out and receive employment with that degree. Within this industry, however, everybody knows everybody. So it is good that we are all under what I refer to as the hospitality umbrella, to have those networking opportunities, working with students in different programs, and just trying to build the industry within Columbus State and then after graduation.
I think that's great. And I always say to students, sometimes they know they really like to travel, but they don't really know what that could translate to. And I just feel like that hospitality and tourism industry is so ripe for travel lovers, because you could end up in places all over the world. If you're managing a hotel starting out in Ohio, you get in on an entry-level role, you find a great mentor, and then all of a sudden they need a new manager, whether it's in a state that you've always wanted to live in, or a country in Europe or in Central America. And those hotels have chains all over the world. So I think sometimes, again, students aren't recognizing that lifestyle they're looking for. Sometimes you got to focus on that before you start to figure out which careers might be a good fit. So I think that's really cool that obviously that's a high demand field, because we have students that are probably would be interested if they just knew about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll ask you, and then I'll move on to some questions for Chef Barry, is, when students who are on campus, they know they like the idea of hospitality, culinary arts, something related, but they're not really sure where to focus their time or energy. What are some of the support services that are available to them that will help them find that best fit path, or at least that best place to start?
Yeah. Well, one, within our programs, we do require a lot of the same prerequisites for multiple degrees. So this allows our students an additional 2 semesters to figure out which pathway they might want to choose to designate their studies to. Now, outside of our facility, we do have an entire department called Career Services that is there to support students with not only finding out what they might want to do with their time and their education, but more importantly, what they don't want to do. So if someone comes in, they're like, I would love to be a cook, but they are not willing to stand for more than 3 hours a day, we know that that's not going to be something that they are suited for or will enjoy as a career. Outside of figuring out what they do and don't want to do, they will support them with mock interviews, resume writing, free headshots, and outside internships as well. So it's a great department to work with. They support us with in-class discussions, with resume writing, trainings, which is a requirement. But also, these resources are available to our students up to 2 years after graduation. So we're not just, here's your diploma, see you later. We want them to know that Columbus State is still here for them to provide them the support for employment opportunities, and even within the department, come back to your instructors. We write references, we have those conversations, and we really try to connect you to employment.
I love that. And I think I try to tell students all the time, especially those who are undecided or they're not really sure yet, they maybe have a general area. I really promote that career services center that all campuses have. They're not all created equal. So that's another thing I try to tell them on your visits, go to the career center. Go, if you know that's going to be a part of your experience, go meet the people, ask them how they help you, ask what kind of support services are there. Because if you leave that office feeling really good about what that resource is, then that's a good sign that in addition to some of the other things you liked about the campus, that is a really important component that I can't even tell you the number of students, myself included, in college. Like, I did not take advantage of that resource. And I really wish I would have, because I was very undecided for the first 2 years. And it would have been great for me to have those conversations with people that would have helped me reflect on the things that I was really trying to get out of college. And then I think I would have taken college a lot more seriously, which would have been good for me. But no, I think that's great. I appreciate that obviously Columbus State is so committed to that. All right, Chef Barry, I've got some questions for you that are more related to the culinary arts component of your program. So I know Columbus State's really known for getting their students firsthand experience while they're taking their classes. What are some of the experiences that students can expect to gain while going through the culinary arts program?
Well, there's quite a few, quite honestly. That we have a culinary degree separate from the culinary apprenticeship. They can work in our retail outlets. We have a bakery and a restaurant where they can get real world experience for that. We also now are doing production where they're learning the skills for several weeks so that they really hone their skills. Working within the community. Sarah mentioned a couple of the other events. We also do the Columbus Chamber Clam Bake, where we help raise funds for the business community and scholarship funds that way. Trying to think some of the others. Of course, they can get 2 degrees at the same time. They could do culinary and baking and actually finish both degrees by the time they're done both at the same time, if they want to do a certificate, either way. With a culinary apprenticeship, they come to school the first 2 semesters, but then after that, they come to school 1 day a week, but then work in a facility underneath a certifiable chef, which could be a country club, hotel, hospital, retirement community. So there are a lot of different places around town. Cameron Mitchell's or some of the others. So there are a lot of chefs that have come through our program that are far-reaching. Some are some of the best chefs in the country. We've got Ashar Bayou.
From Joya's, right?
Yes, Ashar Bayou.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
He's done Portland Top Chef. He's been on several other things. So we have a number of our students that have done things in that realm as well. So
I love it. And I think that apprenticeship program is really interesting because I know Columbus State is trying to build more and more opportunities for what, I always call, and I think is what the terminology you use is the earn and learn programs, where, you're taking classes, but then you're also working in a facility related to what you're learning at the same time. And it's not just a volunteer internship. You're actually being paid to be there. So it's another way to offset the cost of your education. But again, the experience is what's going to land you in a fulfilling career. So I know from day one, I've been to Mitchell Hall several times, and I'm so blown away by it every time I walk out of there, because I just think if I wanted to go into this industry, I couldn't imagine a more beautiful facility than what these students are working at. I mean, it's top notch. I know you mentioned Cameron Mitchell. So I'd love for you to talk, and I know a lot of our students aren't aware of this, and I would hope they know that name. It's such, it's ubiquitous with Columbus, and just the number of restaurants that he starts and has continued to keep going in this area are just phenomenal. Like, we're really known for the restaurants he's brought to this area. What's the connection to Cameron Mitchell at Columbus State, and how have his recent donations really taken the culinary arts program to a new level?
Well, several of his employees, his top employees, are graduates of our program. Actually, Chuck Klein, one of his top chefs, was an apprentice that worked for me many years ago at the refectory. He just finished, I believe, his 100th establishment this last year. So I don't even know how many different concepts he has nationwide now. So you could work in, I believe it's the Fish Market or Ocean Club, I think it is, at Easton.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to work there, he's got those facilities around the country, Miami, California, Colorado, Boston, some of those different places to where you could transfer to those areas. The money he helped put into the program was to build this new 80,000 square foot building that we have. And quite honestly, it's $12,000 for them to complete the program here from beginning to end. So, I mean, you can make the same stock, vegetable stock, in Columbus that you would in New York at the CIA or Johnson & Wales for a mere portion of that cost. So it's been very integral with the money he gave us to start this. I mean, it was that partnership with the community, the college, and the state to build this 80,000 square foot building for the future. We're looking to just continue to move forward. That's with the new culinary degree. I mean, we're even adding back into the program competition. That's something that we're looking at doing this year again, which we hadn't done in a long time. So now that we've got things going again after COVID, we're looking to build that. And a lot of his chefs from Cameron Mitchell's come back and help us. A lot of them are graduates of the program. So he's tied to us. He actually came to Columbus State to get himself ready to go to the CIA because of his grades at that time. But we're all tied together, more ways than one. So.
Absolutely. I love that connection. I love that he continues to invest in Central Ohio, into our community, and into the education of our students, specifically at Columbus State. And I know he definitely has, it's near and dear to him, and the fact that he's been able to go back and make what was a special place because of the culture, but it was in a basement. It wasn't there were no frills. If you went there, you weren't going to be blown away by the facility. And now all of a sudden it's the complete opposite. The culture's still there. The value of the education is still there, but now it's truly going to rival any of the top programs because of how wonderful the facility is. And obviously the instructors are phenomenal. And we've got all these incredible chefs that are now connected to this program, thanks to really, him and all of the others who are making it such a special place. So I think it's neat that our students and families get to hear that, because I don't think a lot of people know that Cameron Mitchell has that kind of connection to Columbus State and has had that kind of impact. So my next question is, I know if I have a student that thinks, this sounds really interesting, maybe I do want to explore this, maybe I want to go to become a chef, or I want to work in the industry, I don't know what I want to do yet. And then they have parents saying, well, why would you do that? That's, that's not the future we saw for you. Can you talk about maybe some of the roles that they could end up in, and some of the growth potential, and maybe some of the salary potential in a field that I think parents just aren't really familiar with? So that's their fear.
I'm not sure I have enough time. Quite frankly, I mean, I have students that I've had over the years, I mean, that are making well into their six figures, running like Wexner Medical Center. One of the chefs from here is in Chicago, one of the top restaurants in the world. I have no idea what he's making, but I'm sure it's probably close to maybe $200,000. I mean, the potential is there. Now, beginning, yeah, it's not that. Part of it is getting in and getting your feet wet and learning some of the different things. It's not easy work. It's a passion for this, but it's how you move from one place to the other. We're all interconnected. You could work on a cruise line. You could work with the state parks and be transferred all over the country and be able to travel. You had mentioned that earlier. Trying to think of some retirement community where it's different. You're still cooking, but then you're able to have more of that life where it might, I don't want to say it's 9 to 5, but it might be 5 to 2, and then could potentially have your weekends off. So there are a lot more opportunities than just cooking in a fine dining restaurant. That is one area. You have schools where they're large facilities, factories, food science, where people can work in a lab. We have that with Wendy's, Bob Evans, uh, White Castle, Dole is here, one of their test kitchens, and actually Nestle's. It has one of their facilities here for testing for food for the entire country in Dublin. So there's a lot of other opportunities for them. It's just not cooking.
I love that. And I think that's something that, again, we just want more people to recognize. I think they hear culinary arts, they think that means you're going to be a chef or a cook. And it might mean that, but it also might get you started on another path that's a much better fit for you. So again, the exploration that we're trying to introduce our students to before they have to make those big life decisions about where to go after high school, we just want them to have more information available so that they can be more thoughtful about that first step. Because even once they make that choice, they can always change their mind, but it's just always nice to have a plan that feels like it was well thought out and you had time to explore and you've recognized the importance of why it fits with your interests and your strengths and where you could see yourself ending up with it. So I think it's great that they hear about that. So, Lena, I'm going to move on to some questions for you because I know we've already kind of started to go down the path of some of the different opportunities in the field of hospitality and culinary arts. And we've talked a lot about hotel and resort management. We've talked a lot about some of the opportunities in the restaurant industry. But you teaching classes in nutrition and dietetics, I'm sure there's a lot of other paths that students could go into outside of even some of the things that we've already started talking about. So I'd love for you to talk about some of the things that you focus on in your classroom and then some of the different avenues that students might be a great fit for that we haven't already described.
So for the nutrition and dietetics major here at Columbus State, so it's a 2-year program. So after completing the first year, students earn the dietary manager certificate and will be able to sit for the exam and earn that certificate to become a certified dietary manager. And so they can earn it and start working. Or some of them, they want to continue for the second year. Most of them, they continue for the second year, and then they will earn their dietetic technician certificate, and they earn the verification statement where they will be eligible after completing the 2 years to sit for the DTR or dietetic technician exam and become certified. And then we do have also students who would like to continue, since we have those partnership with those 4-year institutions, and like Ohio State, they get transferred. Most of our students continue and they want to earn their bachelor degree and master's in dietetics, so they can continue like as a junior in those 4-year institution and earn their dietetics dietitian's degree.
Very good. And for our students who are hearing the word dietetics for the first time and they're thinking, well, I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm interested in nutrition. I like the idea of understanding and how to use that maybe even in the form of going into a career that's related to helping people with this. What are some things, so maybe let's just start with a dietetics technician and what that job looks like and what maybe a starting salary might be, and then really what that can evolve into with the further education of earning a bachelor's or master's degree in dietetics, and again, how much of a difference that can make in your job outlook.
So the difference between dietetic technician and registered dietitian is basically dietetic technicians, they completed the 2-year the associate program, and they can work similar or they can do more some of the jobs that a registered dietitian do, but they can work in long-term care facilities, they can work in schools, food service, but for dietetic technician, they usually work under the supervision of a dietitian. So the registered dietitian usually sign off, let's say at long-term care facilities, they do have dietetic technicians, but some of the orders and assessments that they do, they have to be signed off by a dietitian. In terms of salary, there is a difference between registered dietitian and dietetic technician, of course. I'm not sure exactly how much
that's okay
as for that, but Yeah, so again, they can start. We have students, they start with the program and nutrition, and they learn like basic nutrition, and then they learn also the food service management part of it. So their rotation, they get exposed to all parts. So students get to learn more about food service in hospitals, in long-term care, in schools, and they do also clinical. We do have rotations at long-term care facilities. I'm usually with the students for that rotation for the clinical part. So again, yeah, they after the first year they can opt for doing the dietary manager and work with that, or continue for the dietetic technician.
I think that's great. And one of my favorite things about Columbus State is, again, I've already mentioned the experiential component and how quickly students get to go out and do things like apprenticeships and practicum experiences and things of that nature. But what I really like is that if you complete an associate's degree and you're certified now to be someone like a dietetics technician, even though that's not your ultimate goal, it's going to be a decent wage, but more importantly, it's going to be the experience that allows you to get to that next level that is probably more what you're aiming for if you're planning on more of a bachelor's or master's program. But I think if you are somebody who goes directly to a 4-year school and you do the whole program and you graduate and you're competing against somebody who went to a 2-year associate's program, got their degree, worked either while in college or took a year off and got experience, and then they went back and earned their master's or they earned their bachelor's, the competition's not even close between who they're going to hire. If you only have experience in a classroom and a degree versus somebody with multiple degrees and experience in a work setting, it's just not even close to who's going to get that job. It's the person every time who's walking in that's going to be easier to train, that's already proven themselves as a reliable employee. And I just feel like that's where I see the value of that Columbus State education, even beyond obviously the savings that comes with starting at a community college. It's really the experience, getting a job before you get your bachelor's degree, that's going to really land you in a much better situation. So I think it's neat that we get to share a path like this. And I know, we're focusing on hospitality and culinary arts today, but Columbus State has a lot of programs that are very similar in regard to how they set you up for future success. So I think it's neat that we get to highlight that on these conversations. So
one thing I would like to add also,
yeah, please.
For our students, when usually they get tired. So when they do their practicums, like for example, for community nutrition, they do some at WIC places or community sites. Most of our students, they get hired like after they finish the program and they start. So now we have preceptors who are already our graduates and working with Columbus State students. Like this semester, I have students their preceptors are like past students. So they kind of because they are placed in all different places, they get to see.
I think that's great. How many students are in your program typically at a given time that are, kind of a cohort that might start in a year one together?
So as Sarah mentioned, we can take up to 20 students. Last year we had 15. So we started with 15, and this year we had 10 or 11 students in the program.
And what's the job outlook? Because obviously it sounds like you're not at capacity. And so once somebody completes that degree, is it pretty easy for them to find a job? And I shouldn't say just a job, but a job that they really are excited about?
Yes, I can speak about the nutrition and dietetics. We have, for example, we have one of our preceptors is Nationwide Children's Hospital. So I communicate with them to, for placements for the spring semester. And they always reach out saying, well, if you know students, from Columbus State who are we're hiring. So we always refer our past students to, because we have that great relationship with our preceptors. So they always reach out to us and ask if we can refer them to students.
No, I think that's great. And I think another great thing that, you mentioned an employer like Nationwide Children's Hospital, a lot of great employers out there, when they hire you on in those tech roles, because you have the certifications with your associates or your, whatever certifications you've earned at Columbus State, all of a sudden you usually have an employer, if you put some time in there, that will help you pay for that bachelor's degree or help you pay for that master's degree later. And that's another thing. I think, again, we're having more and more students and families, quite frankly, that even if they have saved and they know they're going to help their kids with college has just become so expensive. And a lot of times it is going to fall on the student to take out some loans. And I don't think as students who have never had to experience something like that before, they don't understand the relevance, importance of trying to avoid that at all costs. And if you can get a job with somebody that values you and your associate's degree, your certification, and then they'll pay for you to earn a bachelor's, that's a pretty good setup for students to know about. So again, we know they're going to explore a lot of options. We just don't want them to write things off that are so really great without even exploring it in the first place. So I love that we get to introduce them to people such as yourselves, who are a part of, in my opinion, one of the most premier community colleges in the entire country, and under the leadership of Dr. David Harrison, who's been there for well over a decade now and has really stuck to it and seen through making it what he was envisioning all those years ago. I can, and over the 10 years that I've been doing this, the improvements made at Columbus State and the educational opportunities there and the experience that is gained is just top notch. So I just, the more students and families I can get to hear that, the better. So I learned so much in these conversations. I love that I got to meet all of you. I know I'll have an opportunity to meet some of you in person, whether that's next week at our career fair. We've also have opportunities where I'll be on campus, and I'll be sure to let you know. I'd love to meet you in person. But, but before we sign off, I would love to just kind of give everybody an opportunity to maybe share something, through your life and career experiences. What have you learned that you feel like would have been helpful to know as a high school student that you can kind of give as a parting message, kind of those final words of wisdom? Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay. I think that you should just take the opportunities that are best for you, for your correct path and your journey. Not everybody has the same means as others, and throw that stigma of community college out the door. We are the second largest college in Central Ohio, just behind the Ohio State University. We have over 50,000 students enrolled at our college in over 200 different areas of studies. There is nothing wrong with starting with Columbus State, saving your money, potentially getting a debt-free degree, and then transferring on to potentially experiencing that 4-year college life atmosphere. So just do what's best for you, whatever makes you happy, and Columbus State is always here to support you.
All right, Chef Barry, do you have anything?
I think get a mentor, and just have them and listen to them, and find as many varied experiences as you possibly can. Just soak it all in. I mean, if you have the opportunities, as Sarah said, jump at them. Competition, getting a chance to do other things, networking with other people. I've had the opportunity to travel the world because of American Culinary Federation and being in this industry. I mean, take any opportunity you have and run with it.
I think that's awesome. All right, Lena, you get to round things out for us.
I always tell, if you're undecided, not sure what you want to do, start with like a community college, and you can like start there and then explore everything, and then you'll finish like 2 years, and then you, especially with like Columbus State, we have partnership with so many institutions, so you can continue, and you'll be saving a lot of money with that, and that is a great start for you, like being at Columbus State.
I think it's great. Well, I can't thank you all enough for spending this time with me. I know that anybody who tunes in is going to really just benefit from hearing what you had to say, especially if they're interested in this particular field. But I just know Columbus State has so much to offer, and I really just enjoy the conversations I get to have with the wonderful faculty and staff members from there every chance I get. So thank you for your time, and I hope to meet you all in person at some point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thanks for listening. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions about the many resources we have in Dublin City Schools related to exploring post-secondary options. My email address is patton_kevin@dublinschools.net. I also want to give special thanks to student intern Cam Williams from the DCS Media Marketing Academy. Cam designed the cover art for the show and will be sharing regular updates via social media. Be sure to follow Cam's posts at DCS Pathways Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Hope to see you next week.